Good morning, boys and girls. So today we're going to continue with our geometry section. We've done triangles yesterday, and today we're going to talk about parallelograms, okay? So I am going to set up the camera for you so that you can see a little better the board in front of us. And then I'll start. Give me a second. Let's see. Hopefully you can see good enough in there, and then we can look at it. Okay, so our objective today is I can classify and compare quadrilaterals using their properties. I'm gonna turn off that window so that we can have a little more darkness. When I do that, I want to start out by showing you a picture of a baseball field. See that right there? This is where the players play. The whole field is not showing. The baseball field is normally a diamond, but I want you to focus on the seating. The seating, it has all kinds of quadrilaterals. You will see some that are shaped like a square, especially here. You will see some that are shaped like a rectangle. If you pay close attention, you'll find some that are trapezoids. And there's other kinds of quadrilaterals in a baseball field. Now, let's see. I'm going to do a pre-assessment to see how much you remember on your angles, okay? So I'm going to put it here for you to look at, and then I'll show you the pictures a little bit better. The answers. The question is, Bev made a pot holder in craft class. The shape of the pot holder is shown below. Did you see how I drew a square? Which statement best describes the shape of the pot holder? Okay, so is it A, it is a pyramid? Is it B, it has 4 sides and 4 acute angles? Is it C, it has 4 sides and 4 right angles? Or is it D, it has 4 sides and 4 obtuse angles? All right, think about it for a second. And if you chose C, it has 4 sides and 4 right angles, then you chose correctly. Before we move on, I want to make sure you understand a concept before we go to the quadrilaterals about lines. And I made a picture here for you to look at. We are going to, when we talk about quadrilaterals, you're going to find parallel lines and you're going to find perpendicular lines. Parallel lines go this way. They don't touch each other. They kind of go one kind of like next to the other. And you can have them either horizontally or vertically like that, okay? And then you also have what we call perpendicular lines. And this is a perpendicular line. They kind of cross each other. You see that? So there's some kind of touching happening. They're not going sort of next to each other. They touch each other somewhat. Okay, so remember that, because in order to understand the quadrilaterals, the angles and the sides, and the definition of each one, you do have to understand what parallel lines are and perpendicular lines are. Now look at this board that I made for you, okay? All of this here are quadrilaterals, meaning all of the shapes or the polygons have 4 sides. Remember, yesterday we did the triangles with 3 sides. The first one I want to draw your attention to is the parallelogram, okay? A parallelogram has opposite sides that are congruent and parallel. So if I were to draw something like that, okay, this is right there, you see that? Let me see if I can move it a little closer for you to look at. I just don't want you to miss the whole thing when I do it. But right there you have opposite sides that are congruent. So these 2 sides are congruent and these 2 sides are congruent. Opposite sides that are congruent and that are parallel. So this is parallel, these 2 are parallel, okay? Then we have what is a rectangle. And a rectangle is a special type of parallelogram that has 4 right angles and 4 lines that are perpendicular. So you have here perpendicular here perpendicular. So you have 4 right angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a rectangle right there. It's a special type of parallelogram that has 4 right angles and 4 pairs of perpendicular sides. Then we have what we call a rhombus. And a rhombus is a special parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So you're gonna put them like this, and the sides are all congruent. Now notice these two have 2 sides that are congruent, and 2 here. These have all the sides that are congruent, and the angles are not going to be, well, it depends. Not necessarily right angles. But a square is a special type of parallelogram that not only is a rectangle, it's also a rhombus. So it's basically has 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So the sides are the same, and the angles are right here, right angles. What does that mean? You remember yesterday that a right angle has 90 degrees. So a square has 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. And then we have the last one up down here is a trapezoid. And a trapezoid is not a parallelogram, but it is a quadrilateral, and it has exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. And of course you guys know that a trapezoid looks like this. I'm not drawing it very nicely because it's hard for me to do that, but these 2 lines, see? These 2 lines are going to be parallel to each other. Remember, trapezoids are not parallelograms, but they are quadrilaterals, okay? Why are they not parallelograms? Because they don't have, the opposite sides are not necessarily congruent. You see that? And that, they're not congruent, okay? So it's not going to be a trapezoid. So if we were to put it on a Venn diagram, I have one here for you, and I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see a little bit. I'm gonna move it even more. So here we go. Parallelograms are divided into, these are all quadrilaterals. This circle here and this circle here are quadrilaterals. Trapezoids are by themselves down here. They don't overlap with anybody else. But parallelograms include rhombuses and rectangles. And then look at squares right here. The squares fall right in the middle because they are rhombuses, rectangles, and parallelogram. They meet all the definitions of all those. Okay? Let's see. So if I give you a rectangle right now, let's look at the rectangle. Remember, rectangles are quadrilaterals, they are parallelograms, and they are rectangles. If we talk about, let's look at a square down here. A square is a quadrilateral, a parallelogram, a rectangle, a rhombus, and a square. So they fall into all those categories. If we are looking here at a rhombus, right here, a rhombus is a quadrilateral, it is a parallelogram, and then also it's a rhombus, okay? And then for the trapezoid down here, it's just a quadrilateral and a trapezoid. Look at it, they don't fall into any other category. All right, that finishes our section on quadrilaterals. So all you have to do is memorize what those 5 different quadrilaterals are. And if you understand that clearly, you'll be able to follow the directions for your standard practice 11.3. All right, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.